fine.
Guys, welcome.
Woo!
There it is. I was going to have this like everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr.
I'll
Todd.
take thanks. I love the energy. Guys, good room tonight. As is the case, you never always know how many people are going to come and how it's going to go, but I'm grateful for everybody that's here. And we got a really good showing tonight, especially since we haven't had one of these in a while. We want to do this every couple of months or so. I have 5 of them planned for this calendar year. All of them with a theme of keys to the castle, which I think is pretty neat. And it's a little extra neat because we lived in England, and a large part of my studies, every time I'm the nerd, I'm going to go into these castles, and I'm going to read every single plaque. I just got back from Memphis. Has anybody looked in Bay 3 yet?
Yes.
It's Crocodile Bay. There's alligator, literally an alligator skin adjusting tables in there. It's not open yet, but
Not a real alligator.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
I thought it was crocodile.
Yes, crocodile.
Where were we? And I was going to go to the Civil Rights Museum, and they said, oh, you can do it. It only takes like an hour unless you're the one who reads all the things. I'm the one who reads all the things. But I know a whole lot about castles now. And so we had this idea that how can we tie together a central theme for your health into one thread? And I like this idea. It's the keys to the castle. The castle is, of course, your health, right? So how can you be healthy? And every time we do one of these, there's 5 of them that I've got planned for this year. Every couple of months, every 3 months, give or take, we're opening up another 1 or 2 or 3 rooms. And like tonight, we've got a bonus room. Can't wait to get to that one. Because we're doing exercise, you can probably figure out which one the bonus room is if you really play.
The torture chamber.
It's the torture chamber. We got a spoiler.
She's always the one that talked during the movies that figured out everything.
Oh,
that
yeah. Yeah, it's the worst.
That's awesome.
When she figures it out before I do, she doesn't say. She just goes, oh! What? I can't tell you. So today, keys to the castle, we're going to be talking about exercise. Future keys, actually, let me get there. Well, let me do this part first. Let's introduce us. I know everyone in the room knows us. There's no guests with us today, but often there are guests, and we want to do these things. These are, we don't charge for these. Other offices do it. A lot of people coming up saying how much they cost. This doesn't cost anything. In fact, it's a big part of what we do for our mission to help. We can talk to you about health, but it's not until we get a captive audience or we're able to actually sit down and give you how health works in ways that maybe you've never thought of to meet our mission to inform, inspire, and empower you to make decisions for your health. And so we're going to be posting this on social media. This will probably be playing in the office a bit, just to really add some extra value, but you guys get the front row seats. So I am Dr. Todd Marquis. I'm not the doctor of chiropractor. I am the clinic director, but I love chiropractors so much I married one. And
She's
she
always
loves-
got your back.
And she loves philosophy so much that. Oh.
Yay.
Is that what your PhD is in?
I mean, that's what the doctor of philosophy. Yeah, doctor of philosophy. But that's a wide net. So, but my background is obviously a lot more varied. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm taking everything that I've learned from my graduate school, pre-doctorate stuff in message-based missions, which is church planting and church administration and preaching, which I'm doing today.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Can you go get the snakes? We're going to handle them. I was in Kentucky a few days ago. They do that there. So yeah, that's my background again as the clinic director. If there's something you love about this place, I want to hear about it. If you hate it, I want to hear about it before you put it on Facebook, please. But I want to make it. I want to make sure that we're serving the mission. And by being here, you're part of a bigger mission. We want to remind you that while you're coming in and you're getting adjusted, and that's an important part for your health, you're also aligning with a bigger mission. And the mission doesn't stop with this room. It doesn't stop with you. It extends to your family. It extends to your workplace. It extends to your neighborhood, with your book clubs and whatever else, your church groups or whatever else you're a part of, because they need help too. So, you want to introduce yourself to the room that knows you?
Sure. Yes. You guys all know me.
Dr. Marissa, everyone.
I'm from Ohio. I grew up here. We moved away, moved back here eventually, obviously. But I've been practicing for
Skipped over some really good parts.
13 years now.
Where in Ohio?
Little
Did
town
you
called
start?
Coldwater, in the
Where's
middle of
Coldwater?
nowhere.
Next to Cold
Nowhere.
Shower.
Yeah.
Way out in Mercer
It
County.
takes an hour to get to the nearest interstate. That's how far away from we are. So yeah, in the middle, like really close to Indiana.
Did
My mom
like
was
his car break down or something outside your farmhouse and he met you? Like I've seen.
That's
That's right. Yeah, that's pretty much
I was
how
a big city lawyer.
most people don't leave.
They made a Hallmark movie about it.
Okay.
No, but yeah, no, I've been practicing for about 11 years. I've always gone to a chiropractor since I was 2 weeks old or so. My mom took me, and when I asked her like, why did you take me? She's like, well, it sounded like a good idea. I was like, good point. So my mom took me. She herniated a disc in college in her 20s, and that is what started her journey on chiropractic. And it was actually one of the things I didn't think I was going to get into, but the very first person I met, my chiropractor had me shadow him, and the very first person I met, she was 60 years old, full of energy, full of life, couldn't remember the last time she was actually sick, and she was so excited when she heard I was thinking of being a chiropractor, and I asked like what her story was. At 60, she had the spine of a 20-year-old, no arthritis, no degeneration. He showed me the x-rays. And when she was 14, her parents took her to a chiropractor because somebody told her parents that it could help with asthma. And it did. The asthma went away completely, and her parents kept taking her, and she kept going after that because she realized, like, wow, this is, like, she never actually had pain. She just went because she had asthma. And that really got my wheels turning and thinking about, wow, there is a lot more to health than just, making somebody feel better, getting them out of pain. Like, it goes much deeper, and chiropractic in general does that as well, which we'll talk more about. So,
And that's why our mission is, it goes beyond. But chiropractic is a funny place because if you're sitting here, you've been with us long enough, and if you're watching this on social media, maybe you haven't been yet, but people come to us because their back hurts, and their shoulders hurt, and their neck hurts, and we do that, but man, that's barely scratching the surface. And I went years before, I didn't, and all the stuff when I'm out doing outreach, I never wanted to talk about pain. Now I feel like I have to, because you've got to take people on a journey that starts with your back hurts and move them to how health works. So, and that is why a chiropractic office, if you didn't know anything about chiropractic, this seems like an odd thought. Why is a chiropractic office talking about exercise? Why do we do gut health workshops? Why is it that later on, one of the keys is the keys to the bedroom, which by the way is sleep, not the other thing, get your mind out of the gutter. Okay? Because we're engaging in overall health. We are here to inform, but not stop there. We don't talk to inform. We speak to inspire and to empower. So here's our future keys, by the way. Today we're going to talk about the Armory. What's the Armory? That's where all the weapons are kept. That's where the armor is kept. That's why they name it that. We're going to talk about the Courtyard. One of them is for health, the defense mechanism. The Courtyard is where you go have for fun. And we could do a lot of things in the Courtyard, but one of the things that you always do is you exercise. Historically, people never needed to exercise for fun, by the way. They exercised because they had to exercise. They're out in the fields, or they're hunting, or they're putting things together, they're sewing, they're training, whatever it is. We are blessed to live in the 21st century, but when we walk out, if we had castles today, we would have to go out and exercise in that courtyard. The bonus key is the torture chamber. And I've got another bonus here, which we'll talk about near the end. It's not part of our Keys of the Kingdom. It's our big makeover we're doing in about a month, March 16th. This is a big, big event. It's the biggest event we've ever put on. We'll have it here, but the expectation is it's a full big event. We're going to launch our 30-day challenge as part of it, and more on that later. We'll talk about the Alchemy Lab, which is where the toxic chemicals, the library and the chapel, we're gonna do at the same time. That's the mind and the spirit. Every castle had a library, usually the king's library, and every castle had a chapel. And I am going to talk more about why it had a chapel later. They got the bedroom and then the banquet hall is nutrition. This is our layout on how we're going to do that this year. So, what kind of castle do you have?
Irish.
If we're doing the keys to the castle, northern or regular?
Regular.
Okay. So if we're doing, what kind of castle do you have? The castle is your health. And if your health is strong, like it's made to be, you're going to have this one. Anybody watch Braveheart?
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody know the castle? Any chance? It actually says up there, but does anybody know anything about this? Stirling Castle. Stirling Castle is one of the coolest castles on the planet. As you can see, it's built up on a big volcano. And so if you're sitting up here, I remember coming up to these walls and looking down. That is way farther than it looks like it is, right? But you can see for 100 miles. You'll see everything coming your way. This is Stirling Castle.
Where's that located?
About an hour or so north of Edinburgh,
Okay.
Scotland, right? So if you have this kind of castle, long walls. You get the, inside, this is the Great Hall, would be in here. This is the living quarters. Back here is probably where the people would have been. All these defense mechanisms, parapets here, places to hide, places to shoot where things need to be shot, right? Is that your castle? Or do you have one of these? This, and by the way, what's really fascinating, I'm actually doing this all from memory. I made really good notes in here and I can't see any of them. So I see what's up here. Fortunately, I remember. Mott and Bailey. This is the OG. The original castles. Did you know that for 200 years, these were the castles everybody wanted? I'm not even joking, these were the Gucci castles. These were the ones, because look, they're made out of timber. They can be put up pretty cheap, right? So what they dug around an existing hill of some kind, and they just piled a bunch of dirt up on top, flattened off the top, put a bunch of pointy sticks in, that made the wall. But while you're up here, it's actually pretty effective, because you're way up here, you get pretty good line of sight, you're gonna see them coming, right? Down here, by the way, if you didn't know the castle, follow the movies, it's not where the king lives. He does often live there, but there's hundreds of castles, so lords will live there, but usually hundreds or big castles, thousands of people would live in these castles. So in here, you've got servants' quarters, in here. You'll have shops inside the castle walls. It's all part of daily life. So the Mott and Bailey Castle, this was, for 200 years, this was the main way. People wanted this is what most people had. If you have seen this kind of castle, Stirling Castle, go back, there you are. If you've seen this kind of castle, is this the kind of castle you would want? Look at this tiny little keep up here. That's where the Lord of the Manor lives. He lives up there. This tiny little place. He could live in Stirling Castle, but he's going to live here instead. For 200 years, this was the popular one. This was the cool one. Easy, cheap, didn't have to put a lot of work in. Sound like health today? Easy, cheap, popular. And if this is common, it feels normal. What's wrong with this? Let me rephrase that. What's wrong with that if somebody has an arrow with fire on the end of it? A single arrow with fire on the end of it. Another thing, so that's one. Ever notice there's no single points? You can send everybody, if you've got squares, like they're all kind of, you can hedge people in, but you can have people go all around the whole thing. There's no, the whole thing is a point of weakness. You can light the thing on fire. It's smaller. It's cheaper. Rounder. It's easier to attack, but it was cheap and it was common and people wanted it. And in 1066, when the Norman invasion, when William the Conqueror took over England, these things got built up like crazy. Also, what got built up at that same time, by the way, which is really fascinating, Tower of London, which is massive. It was a monument to what William the Conqueror could do. Huge. If you've ever been to London, the Tower of London, it's not a tower, it's a full castle. Right there at the edge of the Thames. So if you're coming in, and you know, the Norman invasion was Vikings, right? Sort of. If they're coming in via the Thames, what's the first thing they see when they get to Londinium? Friggin' tower. Huge. And they're going to turn around and go right back. This happened at the same time. So you got these massive towers, or castles, made of rock and stone, that defended everything, and yet then they had these. In other words, it's not like they didn't have the technology. They just chose not to use it. So, which castle is yours? By the way, there's a third castle. This is St. Andrew's Castle.
It's missing some walls.
Oh, they're there.
Yeah.
They're there.
I thought you were going to say Blarney.
This thing got destroyed. If you know anything about the Protestant Reformation in Scotland, St. Andrews, Scotland, when John Knox, the evangelist, was locked inside of this castle, and then the Catholics came after them, and they camped out and started bombing this thing. This is 1560s, by the way. It didn't survive very long, but this was once a proud, tall
They
castle.
didn't play around.
They didn't play around back then. It's actually pretty cool, because actually roughly where this picture's taken is the town. And there's stories of them putting up cannons up in the town and shooting them out. And that was like one of the originals. Because John Knox had captured the bishop, which is not a chess move. But he captured the bishop, had it inside the castle. And the Reformation in England or Scotland took a very different turn as a result. So Scotland ended up being Presbyterian, partly because they tore this sucker down. So this was once a proud castle. Took care of its health, right? Stood up tall. But eventually, due to, and it wasn't just because of these cannons, it was a bunch of other things, eventually it fell apart too. Now it's still standing, it's a remnant, it's a museum, tourists can go see it. But is that your castle? Is that your body? I think a lot of people, as we start getting older, we start realizing the clock doesn't run out on your health. In other words, you can't ever stop. People ask, when can I stop being adjusted? They're like, well, I guess if your spine is in good shape and you are doing all the right things and you're following all the recommendations,
And you live in a bubble.
and you live in a bubble, and you never get in a car accident, and nothing ever happens to you,
No stress.
and there's no stress in your life, then it's time to have that conversation. So, cool background on castles, by the way. So, what's holding you back from having a better castle? Right? I hear time all the time. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to make the right food. I don't have time to sleep 7 hours or 8 hours. Is it money? By the way, it's never been cheaper to exercise. You don't need money to exercise. Is it knowledge? Libraries, literally the best-selling books are all in the field of health, especially exercise, nutrition. Somehow chiropractic keeps getting left out of there, but there's some really good books on that too. Then you also hear too old or motivation. Or is it that you much prefer to live in pain, have no energy, be overweight, with high blood pressure, and don't care about quality of length of life? For most people, it actually is the last one. Because they have the time, they have the money, they have the knowledge, they have the resources, but deep down inside, they have something that is causing them to come up with all these excuses on why they don't do the things they already know to do. Raise your hand if you know that walking is good for you. Oh, look at that. We all know that. Raise your hand if you walk as much as you know that you should every day.
Not every.
By the way, that's about statistically right, about a third of the room, sort of. But we're usually being generous. I'm assuming that we're playing, going, kind of, when the weather's good. It has never in history of man been easier to live a healthy life. it's never in the history of man been harder to live a healthy life. The resources are there. Those resources are competing against lots of other things. I hate this word when I use the word misinformation. There's a lot of entities out there that make a lot of money off of you not being healthy. Let's change that. So, key number 1, movement is life.
So, we all have heard this before, like move it or lose it, right? If you don't move, you're gonna lose it. Movement is actually life. Did you guys know that 90% of the nutrition and stimulation to your brain comes from movement of your spine? Right? Think about that. 90% or over 90% of what your brain is designed to do is about helping your body like know where it is in space. Over 90%, that's a crazy ton of life. So we'll talk about that with the chiropractic part, but we know that we have to move. We know it's a large part of life, especially if you have a sedentary job where it makes it much, much harder, right? You look at your parents, your grandparents, their lifestyles were way different than ours, right? They didn't have the desk jobs. They didn't have the sitting at computers, sitting at phones, like doing all this stuff like we do now. So we have to work harder to try to get the same benefits that they had before. So when we think about like your heart and we think about why we know exercise is important for us, but it has a massive impact on your heart. Your heart pumps, I don't even have all my stats because I can't see it, but we know our heart pumps a lot of blood. I needed this so I could see exactly. But our heart's absolutely incredible, and movement of your body is really important to get your blood flow moving in your body or in your heart as well throughout your body. The number 1 cause of death, it's not supposed to tell you, but we all know it's actually heart disease, right? It's not cancer, it's not smoking, it's not any of that stuff, it's actually heart disease. Heart disease, medications for statins, which are supposed to try to prevent like blood pressure or like stroke and things, those are the number 1 prescribed medications in the country. But yet we're still dying from heart disease, right? And I see a lot of people tell me like, yeah, I went to my doctor and they told me, well, you just gotta lose weight, just exercise more. It's like, okay, like we need a plan. Like what kind of things are we actually doing with this? So if we're wanting to end up like everybody else's, if we don't want to end up like everybody else is ending up, where it kills 1 in 2 people, we have to start doing things differently, right? If you have a sedentary job, I'm gonna tell you guys, you have it harder. You absolutely do. You have to be more intentional in order to try to get your body moving, okay? High blood pressure obviously comes along with this as well. Regular exercise, just by exercising consistently, could reduce your cardiovascular disease risk by up to 57%. On average, let's say roughly 50%. Just by doing some regular activity and exercise. And you think about how heart issues, blood pressure, even especially if you have a family history of things, right? There's a whole big field called epigenetics. People tell me, oh, well, my grandparents had heart disease, my parents had heart disease, I'm gonna have it. Or they've had high blood pressure, they died early, I'm gonna have it as well. Not necessarily. If you live the same lifestyle that your family did, then you're more prone to having that stuff, especially if there are some genetic tendencies. But just because you have those tendencies doesn't guarantee that you will end up that way, right? So that's where when we put things into practice, it actually then minimizes those risks and increases our body's ability to actually heal and get better. So you can not have to be a statistic with it. If exercise is good for you, why don't we do it?
Raise your hand if you knew exercise was good for you. I asked you earlier, okay, the statistic hasn't changed. All right, good. Now, raise your hand if you know why you don't do it. Okay?
Oh, amazing.
At least we're honest about it. Totally. This was some really cool stuff. This is on Reddit. People who don't exercise or work out, why don't you? So they just ask a lot of questions and came with some stuff. I'm not going to read all of these things. But some come from like, I'm dealing with epilepsy, finding right medication, constantly tired. It's one of my seizure triggers. I'm honestly terrified if I'll injure myself if I have a seizure while exercising. The person's like, yeah, I feel I got diagnosed. My whole life has been upended. I'm terrified to sleep and I'm scared to work out. I had to change jobs and I can't drive. The one person says, I'm going to start tomorrow. Like, we all do that. We start. Tomorrow is when? Tomorrow, right? Yeah. And it always starts on what day, though? Tomorrow, Monday, right? Like, we can't ever do anything new. Like, okay, Monday, that's when I'm gonna do this, right? And then what happens when Monday comes and like,
Monday.
and then it has to be Monday. Like we can't, heaven forbid we start on a Wednesday sort of thing. Or it's like this. It says once you miss January 1st, it's basically a lost cause because you gotta wait for the next year to come around, right? It's like, well, forget that. We're done. I just don't have the motivation. Not depressed or anything. I just don't want to. And the person's like, exactly. I have the desire, but no oomph to actually do it. Even when I do get motivated enough to actually start the routine, it only lasts a few weeks maximum, right? I heard people say that motivation never comes. It takes discipline, which is also why I never exercise, which I think is I love these because people are like actually being real. But when you start to hear these things, it sounds sometimes silly, but it's like, how many of those things do we constantly tell ourselves all the time? Like we have those stories in our head that we constantly go to of like, this is the reason why I don't do it, right? And some of them are legitimate and some of them are valid. I don't do anything even slightly wrong, pain. I don't do anything, surprise, also pain. Like this person, they're darned if they do, they're darned if they're not. This person has sciatica, 35 with lower back pain for over 10 years. And it's just like one thing after another. And when you look at it, when they poll people, you guys might not be able to see this, but they actually looked at the top 10 reasons that Americans skip planned workouts. Like, why? The number one reason was they were too tired. Okay? Ironically enough, when you ask Americans, how would you feel if you exercise regularly? The number one answer was what? More energy. It's like, it's this catch-22, guys. And I was talking to somebody today about this. It's like, when should you exercise, right? Like people say, I'm waiting for that motivation, I'm waiting for this. Like as soon as you have that, you make a decision, you make a commitment, you need to start, right? With anything, you need to do something now because the more time that passes, guess what's likely to not happen? Oops. All those things that you wanted to do, right? If anybody ever been to like a seminar or a workshop or heard a sermon or anything like that and took some really good notes, like, oh, I love all this stuff, this is great, right? And then if you go home, if you don't immediately put some of those things into practice, what happens? Nothing, exactly. Like your life literally never changes at all. It's like, oh, that was some really good information. Don't let today be that for you guys, right? You guys obviously are concerned about your health. You want to be healthier. You would not be here listening to us and taking time out of your evening in order to just say, oh, that was some really good information. Like we know you guys want to be healthy. Make sure you make that decision. And it takes commitment. But you have to commit to yourself and you have to find that reason. Why is this so important? Why is this so beneficial that I actually do this, right? Because it is. We know, like, people tell us, like, too much work, it's already too late, the weather's too bad, I ate too much, I stayed late at work, I'd rather watch Netflix, it's dark, it's bad traffic, workout buddy canceled. But by and large, like, we know the benefits, happier, we become more motivated when we actually work out, right? It's a self-fulfilling thing. If we don't start, then you'll never get that motivation. You'll never get that energy that you're looking for, but you've got to make that energy to actually do it.
My preacher's stepping out. I'm gonna be a preacher.
Go ahead, preach.
So, yeah, I can't not because it's like you just should be bipolar.
It should be.
Because motion leads to motion, right? And maybe hear me give a talk. I always give this analogy. What happens if you sit down on the couch and the remote's on the other side of the room?
You won't watch
I don't care what's on TV you're watching.
You yell for someone else to come and bring you the remote.
If you got kids.
Yeah, but you're not gonna do it.
If you got kids.
It's like a dog.
But eventually something has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you gotta go pee. Your bladder's full. You've reached a biological need where you gotta go move. And once you've done that, what have you done now? You've gone to the bathroom. I hope you washed your hands. But now you got a drink of water. You check the fridge. You went back and got some water. You check the fridge again in case you forgot what was in there.
Pick up the remote.
And then hopefully you pick it. But if you didn't pick up the remote, you're done again. But you're gonna remember to pick up the remote because motion leads to motion. Right. So so Tony Robbins always says, when would now be a good time? So I didn't put this in the packets. Here's what I want you to do. On the back of one of these pages, I want you to write down right now.
Does anybody need a pen?
your top 3 reasons why you haven't met your exercise goals this year. If you have met them, great. I want the top 3 reasons why you did. But I want to hear the top 3 reasons why, if you said you were going to exercise and you didn't, if you said you were going to lose a certain amount of pounds and you didn't, I want to hear why you didn't meet that goal. Well, I'm not going to raise your hand, but I want you to write those 3 down.
Or some of us might not have even set any goals because we're like, well, I don't.
Hold on. We have all set goals.
That's true.
Every one of us has set a goal. We may not have articulated that goal. It may not be a conscious goal, but if you were to sit down and you were to go, you know what, I really wish I would have lost weight, there's your goal. It's not a very good goal. Cut off your finger, you lost weight. It's not a great goal.
Great way to
That's
achieve
kind
it.
of a radical diet program. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
That wouldn't pass my goal setting workshop, but I want you to write down the top 3 reasons why you didn't. Why you didn't exercise when you said you would. Top 3. And while you're writing those, I want to tell you a very interesting story. When I was a power lifter, I won the European Championships. I was training for the World Championships. I had the highest bench press in Europe that year. And people asked me regularly, what motivates you to go in and bench press? You got to work out every day, the commitment that comes with that. What motivates you to do that? And I told, my answer was always the same answer. I now disagree with this answer, but here was the answer. I was never motivated. I just went in and did it. If I only worked out when I felt like it, I would never work out. I hate it. By the way, there were times you hate it. But for you to become world class at something, you've got to keep going, whether you want to or not. You can't just do it when you want to. You got to keep going. But the reason I disagree with that is because I did it because I want to. It's the same reason as when she said that you set goals. You might not know what those goals were, but you set them. We call it your other than conscious. Your mind has set goals, right? You just didn't respond to the call. You didn't write them down. You didn't come up with the number, but you set a goal. Right? So there's a very good reason, and the statistic has lost me, but if you were to receive a diagnosis tomorrow that says, if you don't make dramatic changes, you'll be dead within a year, you will make those dramatic changes for about 2 weeks. And then you'll be dead within a year. It's something like 95 out of 100. People start with those changes and then they don't continue. What I would like to do today is give you a little bit of momentum. Right? Didn't mean to step on your toes.
Okay.
But I want to give you guys a little bit of momentum today. That's all. That's what I wanted to give.
You guys don't have to share those things with
No,
us.
you don't have to raise your hand.
Those are for you. Those are for you guys to
We're going to come back to that.
look at that. So this is when the government gets it right. So this was kind of funny. We were talking about this, like you see the broken clock, right? It's always right 2 times of the day. So it's kind of like, I don't know, when I kind of think about like government regulations, like does anybody ever watch the food pyramid change over the years? And like what they said was like, this is how you eat food. And then it's like, no, that's probably the worst way ever. But they do have some key guidelines with it. Now, consider this. So for school-age kids and adolescents, they recommend 60 minutes a day of combination of aerobic, strength training, and bone strengthening, muscle strengthening and bone strengthening. So like running and playing and stuff like that. Now, the really sad thing is if you look at kids nowadays and you look at the length of time for their recess, it's like 10 minutes long, maybe 15, maybe. They get cut down every year, like they're taking less and less time. So we're forcing kids that are supposed to be, I mean, this is just to keep a child healthy. They're supposed to be getting 60 minutes a day. And most of the time when they come home, they get off the bus, they sit at home, and what do? Homework, right? And then after home, maybe. And then after that, then they sit and probably do what?
Screen time.
Yes, game time, watch TV, whatever. So we have to be intentional about what our kids are doing with that. The guidelines for adults, they say 5 hours a week of moderate intensity, okay, or 2.5 hours a week of vigorous intensity, or the equivalent combination of those, which includes muscle strengthening of moderate to high intensity 2 times a week. So, for example, you have 5 days a week, you do 30 minutes of vigorous. So that would be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're doing like like you're getting your heart rate pumping like 50 to 80% of your maximum heart rate kind of thing, for 3 days a week for 30 minutes, and then the other 3 days, then you're doing only moderate. So that might be like not just a walk, but like a fast walk, like a brisk walk, sort of, for example. That is their guidelines, right? Like, compare this to what we see here, and maybe with yourself, but compare yourself and compare with what we see in our country. Do you want to go through this? This is a lot of stuff that you put up here, as far as like the strength training things.
Yeah, I can do this. This is the government's recommendations. Again,
Oh, okay, so that's the continuation of it, sorry. I thought
Yep.
that was different.
yeah, the
So,
government recommends that you work out.
so, okay, got it. So these are examples. I apologize, I forgot that that's what this was. So moderate intensity would be this: brisk walk, jog, cardio equipment, mowing the lawn, dancing, mowing the lawn. Don't forget, that's good stuff for you guys. Dancing, basketball, swimming. The things that you're looking for that's moderate is slightly out of breath. You can talk, but you can't sing, and light sweating after 10 minutes. That would be moderate. That's where they say do that 3 times a day for 30 minutes. 3 times a week for 30 minutes each.
When you go for it, because you guys raise your hand, you said I go for a walk. When you go for a walk, and you were to break out in the Les Mis soundtrack, would you be able to sing while you're going for this walk? If so, it's not moderate, it's not vigorous enough.
Bet. I did theater for like 8 years. I can dance and sing
Oh,
and project.
Then you're
But that took
super.
training.
Then you're super.
That did take
cardiovascular
training.
heart.
That took a lot
Then
of.
your
Always
resting
fun,
heart
isn't
rate must be
Always
exceptionally
fun in the
low.
crowd.
And for you to reach 50
You're a
to 70%
unicorn.
of your maximum heart rate, which is simple. It's just 2220 minus your age. That's one of the simplest ways of doing
So
it.
yeah, you guys write this all down. So if you're trying to figure out like what's your maximum heart rate, like when you're exercising, you should go no more than this to stay in this range to moderate, and then the high intensity. So take 220 minus your age. Now, if you are 60 years or older, you want to take 220 minus 60 times it by 0.5. I don't know why, but that's just what they did. So if you're over 60, 220
0.5 is 50%.
minus 60.
60 years old is the example. If you're 60, you
Oh,
take
that's easier.
220 minus 60 times 0.5. 0.5 is 60%.
Oh.
And then 4.7, that's 80 to 112 beats per minute.
Oh, I see.
Again, that is talking but not singing. If your heart rate is 80 to 112, you're not consistently singing.
So that's the moderate range. So it's somewhere between, for most people, 80 to 112 beats per minute. That's
If you're 60.
if you're 60, right? So that's like moderate. If you're doing vigorous, so this is going to be more like high intensity. Excuse me, I have a tickle. Running, swimming laps, aerobic dancing, Zumba. For a 60-year-old, you're going to go 70 to 85% of your maximum heart rate. Okay, so again, 220 minus your age, you get 75% with it. So this is running, between anywhere for an average 60-year-old between 112 to 136 beats per minute. So it kind of gives you a bit of a range, like guidance point. That's up to 85% would be on the high end.
Where did they come up with the 220?
Great question.
It's a theoretical maximum.
Yeah, everyone's
It's
gonna
a
be
theoretical
slightly
maximum.
Anything over 220 is going to.
Yeah, you're going to expect cardiac arrest if you're
Yeah.
if you're 18 years old at 220.
Yeah, I know, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Which, by the way, guys, if you are exercising and keeping track, like, have something, whether it's like a watch, a Fitbit, heart rate monitor, your phone, whatever, or the Oura rings. Those are all really, really important things to do. Keys for that is talking is tough. Like, you can't really hold a conversation, and you want to shower after. Now, if you're
That
not
means you're sweating a lot.
exactly, if you're not in super great shape, keep in mind your heart rate's got to get up there much faster. Okay, the whole idea, you got to get in shape to get in shape, right? It's going to take a little bit more time. Some tips over here as well. If you guys, it's good to take a picture of this slide. If you're doing 2 sessions a week, they're not heart rate based, but you're keeping a good pace if you're strength training. So, for example, some tips: you want to work on every muscle group, especially the big ones, right? If you're doing more in, like, I'm trying to build lots of different muscle, then you're only going to do certain muscle groups. Do a few sets of 20 to 25 reps, followed by 3 or 4 sets of 8 to 12. If you only do 2 sessions a week, Do one upper body day, one lower body day. Make sure you do fast movements such as sprinting or jumping, especially like warming up with things like that. Slower pace is key. The benefit comes on the last rep, so you really want to concentrate on the range of motion and sometimes the what's the word? Not high, just higher reps and lower weights. That's the word I was thinking. High reps.
Yes.
Super technical. Couldn't think of that word.
You'll want to put your body under stress.
Yes.
So, high can mean different things, but I mean, if you're going more than 20 or 25, then you're way too high. You want to put your body under stress. This is hormesis. You're letting your body adapt. This is all about your body chemistry.
Good. Another good example, if you guys want to take a picture of this or write this down.
This is just an example. So the recommendations that the government has given, again, they're right. There is a rightness to this. I'm going to give you a better solution, I think, but there is a rightness to this.
Yeah, so
And these are two examples that you can do.
30 minutes, vigorous, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We actually went over this already. Yeah, we already did that. Make sure you're including resistance training on 2 or 3
Can I ask you
days.
a question?
Yes, of course, go ahead.
So, I'm managing to walk my dog maybe 5-6 days a week, and we're going about a mile, and it's about 20 minutes, but I've never stopped to like even do my heart rate and stuff. Is this an appropriate time?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's vigorous, cause she kinda, like, I don't have a trained dog, so she just tows me down the road. And she's like, so there's a lot of that starts and fits and stops and, you know, pee here and sniff there. So, but I looked down today and we did a park, it was so beautiful. We went about 2 miles, so it was about an hour, you know, 40 minutes.
I am gonna cover this in a little while.
Awesome, okay,
But-
I'll wait till then, yeah.
Okay, all right. If I don't answer your question satisfactory, make sure I come back to it.
No, thanks.
And so here we are. We made it. Congratulations, everyone.
Just
Now is the future.
So is there a better way? So when you wrote down your top 3 reasons why you didn't exercise, who put time? Most people put time. Time management.
Let's see, I said busy, so.
Busy, that's time.
Sure.
Watching more TV is time. So.
What's that?
Too much TV is time.
Too much TV time.
There you go. Totally.
That's right.
Time management. Yes.
So what the government has given is fine. And my answer is, by the way, some movement is better than no movement. Most people circle the parking lot at the mall trying to park in the front. Park in the back. Most people don't walk their dogs. Or when they walk, it's a social affair. What you're describing, I think would qualify as a short walk, or as a small walk. It's very brisk. But if you were to, the better way to do it is if you were to have a meal, and after you eat, after every meal you have a 10-minute walk, that's 30 minutes of walking. But that is now speeding up your digestion. And little spoiler for the makeover that we're doing next month, I'm wearing a continuous glucose monitor. And one of the reasons that I'm wearing it is I'm doing my own research. I want to know. And absolutely true, one of the best things you can do to stunt a glucose spike, in other words, blood sugar, is to go for a walk after you eat. Because your body is going to use what you just ate faster. And it's going to stop this spike. Your goal when you've got these things, I can show you the chart. Your goal is, we call it rolling hills. You want to have this. If you have high sugar, it spikes, crashes, spikes, crashes.
You guys
don't
want to
that.
know the best way to get diabetes is do the spikes, have those spikes. It's not that you necessarily eat a lot of sugar, it's that you have a lot of it all the time. So you constantly have these ups and downs all the time, and it burns out your insulin receptors to where then your body struggles to make insulin when it needs to.
So one of the best solutions to that is after you've eaten, go for a short walk. 10 minutes. If you do that 3 times a day, that's 30 minutes of walking. Pretty good 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes is a decent amount. But you've done it 3 times, 10 minutes, that's not a big deal. But you've got to make sure that you're walking. Your dog stops to pee. Make sure
Just walk like this.
They'll catch up.
Just keep moving.
They'll catch up, you know.
Let's go, Dougie.
Do the drag, you know.
Just move your legs.
Right,
move
that's
your
right.
legs in place.
But when you do these, they're not social affairs unless you want them. You can do them in a social way. But your job, if you want to do this on a treadmill, for me, I've got to be going around 4 miles per hour. Most people, maybe that's 3.5, 3.7 maybe. But any less than that is a afternoon saunter.
But again,
Through the
track
meadows.
it. You should track it while you're doing it. So when you're walking your dog, see what it says, and that will give you that guide. Because as you do more and more, guess what your capacity is going to do?
My answer is not that. My answer is, as long as you're moving, don't get too scientific. Just keep moving. And if you really want to really gauge it, yeah, you can check your heart rate. Just do this. Check your watch. Do it for 10 seconds. Multiply times 6. That's your number. Right, that's gonna know what your heart rate is. If you don't have a Whoop, if you don't have she has an Aura, those things track. This one tracks. I'm constantly being tracked. The government knows everything. They know my current glucose level probably. So the answer is move. I would count that. Now, that's going to count more at times of day, especially after a meal or first thing in the morning. So you're going to probably double or triple your efforts if you're doing it right after a meal. And a little spoiler, speaking of blood glucose levels, is if you drink vinegar before you eat. That's another one that's going to really tamper out that blood glucose level.
Teaspoon?
What's that?
Teaspoon?
Yeah, about a teaspoon. You don't need a lot. Don't guzzle it. Teaspoon.
Dilute it, please. Dilute it with
Yeah.
water.
Or apple cider vinegar is fine too.
Don't just down it
Yeah,
your apple
yeah,
cider
yeah.
vinegar. You will burn the crap out of your esophagus.
Right.
Don't do that. Dilute it with water or something.
So I have another solution here, which, by the way, the 3 10-minute walks are really important. They're a really good way. You have them after a meal. It's 30 minutes of movement, right? There is another way. It's called Max T3. It's a version of high intensity interval training. Has anybody ever done high intensity interval training? The word high in that is a relative term, but high intensity interval training has become very popular lately. There's versions of it at Orange Theory, at the kickboxing, knockout or rounding, I don't know what it's called anymore. But there's a bunch of gyms that are set up with different versions of high intensity interval training. But the beauty is, you can do high intensity interval training here. I was in, last time I was in Midtown Manhattan, there was a delivery driver, UPS or whatever, who literally, like, between deliveries, he was doing burpees on the gross streets of Manhattan.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I've got my limits. But he's doing burpees. I mean, good for you.
No
Wash your
excuses.
hands. But it's free. You don't have to have a gym membership. Go work out anywhere. There are things you can do. You can get equipment that you can hang over a door. I have some in my basement. There's things that you can travel with you. I take things up when I travel. But mostly you can do anything you want, right? You've got a floor. You want to do push-ups, but you can't do a push-up, use a chair. All of these exercises are things that you can modify slightly. So if she was in the Armory, now we're in the Courtyard. You can make exercise fun, right? So the Armory is all about the defenses and making things safe and health. Well, this is health too, but this is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to design and be creative and go, I feel like I want to do this. Most people just don't have the tool set. Is one of the reasons people that you wrote down that you didn't exercise because you didn't really know how? No? Most people have that as one of the reasons. I don't know how. I don't know where to start. If I were to ask a different question, if I were to say, if you walked into a gym, why don't you exercise? You'd probably say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the equipment does. That's one of the main reasons. So, what if you don't need a gym? You can do it in your basement, in your living room, in your kitchen, your bathroom maybe, I don't know. Anywhere. You can do it inside, you can do it outside for free. And you can do it for like 12 to 15 minutes a day. Does that chop down most of your excuses? Of those excuses you wrote, are there any left? There's the tired one probably.
Yep.
There's the, but we already talked about the tired one because raise your hand if you know that exercise gives you energy. Actually, let's do this again. Think of somebody who you think of as energetic. Are they sitting on a couch eating potato chips? They have energy. They probably work out.
What if it's a medical fatigue?
So we're using the word medical here.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the word warning sign. Fatigue is usually a sign of body chemistry. Now, this is a big word that means a lot of things. And I don't want to get into that right now. This is really the audience. But exercise will always improve your body's capacity to have energy. It won't diminish it. It will give it.
And it
Now, you might have a
last it.
diminished level, but it's not going to be as diminished as before.
And your version of exercise might look different than somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have
Oh,
that
yeah.
certain level of fatigue, right? Like you shouldn't go crazy doing stuff. Like you need to moderate it as much as you need to.
And that's
For
why I think this is such a great solution for most people. The government's recommendations, I think, are really good. I actually do. I don't say that very often. I think they're good. But I think
Pyramid
that
still sucks.
but I also think there's a reason that we're one of the fattest nations on earth, despite having more gyms than any other nation on earth. I've been to Europe. I once went to Greece. I'm in Greece. I'm trying to use their world gym, and the equipment. I couldn't even use it. I used to joke that equipment was old when Arnold worked out there. You know, we have all this. We have everything here. We're both the fattest and the fittest nation on earth at the same time. So, in your packets, I've given you 2 different versions of this. So, first version is super fast. Super fast. I've given you, how many are in here? There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 workouts. I promised you one, I gave you 12. You've got 12 workouts. By the way, there's 24 if you turn the page. There's 12 workouts
I
here.
won't be able to decide.
It's called over the moon.
It'll take me about 5 days.
Great news is you don't have to decide.
Toss a penny.
Throw a dart.
Yeah, throw a dart on it.
So
It's your exercise.
I'm giving you 2 versions, and I put these in here in reverse order. So let's start with this one. I'll start with version 2, which on here is module 1. Top effort. Now, your top effort will be different than yours, will be different than yours, different than yours. When we did variations of this in Texas at a different chiropractic office where it was her first job out of school, we did this on Saturday mornings with patients. I don't know, a dozen, sometimes 2 dozen patients would show up. A space, by the way, half the size of this. Dude saw 800 people a week coming into this place and half the size of this. And on Saturday mornings, we would do this workout. You could literally, this wasn't available, but you could literally just do, it's so the super fast, or the top effort is what I've got it here. It's 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. And we even had videos that we played. There was 2 people, one was an Olympic athlete, the other was an average Joe, and they're doing 2 variations of the same workout. And Roberto made the most of knowing you can do anything for 10 seconds. You can. I'm hurting here.
Is there a translation to these things? I haven't heard of Romanian split squats.
Oh yeah, I did those just getting out of the car.
Double squat, jump, burpee.
So my answer, by the way, you skipped to the end. What I've done is I've given you the resource, but you were born with a level of resourcefulness, which says, I wonder if there's a video on YouTube about
Dr.
Romanian split
Google.
squats. Right. So that's factual information. What I'm giving you is not. I'm not giving you the facts. I'm giving you the science. So you can look at the facts, the data, just literally go, how do I do this thing? So that part is available to you. But if you can do it for 20 seconds, and then you take 20 seconds off, and then you do 20 seconds again, and you do 20 seconds off. And the idea is, you go full out. Now, again, your full out's going to be different than yours and yours, and they're all kinds of different full outs. But when we did versions of this in Texas, I mean, we had 60, 70-year-old women in there doing it with 25-year-old college students, right? I led these workouts when I was in graduate school down on the racquetball courts. I had people throwing up after, right? So you can have to your tolerance level. You're only competing against yourself. You want to go 20, but the idea is you move for 20 seconds. 20 seconds. You take 20 off, 20 on, 20 off. The first 20 is easy. The next 20 is a little bit, all right, by the third 20 you're going, what did I get myself into? But you can do your own tolerance level. That's what's beautiful about it. The reason people stop after the first week or two is because they realize it's harder than they thought. But what they haven't realized is, after that first week, you're a week ahead of where you were before. Right? So if you're a week ahead of where you were before and you stop now, a week later you're back to where you started. Or you keep going to your tolerance level, and in a matter of time you'll find these things easy. Right? I think this is a really good solution for everybody in this room. 20 seconds on, 20 off. You do it 6 times. It takes a total of 12 minutes, counting 6 minutes of workout and 6 minutes of rest. If you don't have 12 minutes to take care of your body by exercising, maybe 3, 4, 5 days a week at least, and then spend a couple of extra days just going for walks, 12 minutes, come on.
Here's some ideas, guys. If you're making dinner and you're putting it in the oven, it's probably gonna cook for at least 12 minutes. It's a great time to do some of this stuff. Like, you could literally do it in your kitchen. If you're in between commercials, watching TV, take a commercial and see how many rounds you can get in those 3, 4, 5 minutes or however long. Yes, sir.
So, just because a little ADHD thing. So look, what if I just looked at that example and there's 6 exercises there? Are you advocating like speed squats 3 sets? So like 20 on, 20 off, speed squats, speed squats, speed squats. Or are you saying go through 6?
Either one.
And then go through it 3 times?
I love variety.
Okay.
I love variety.
I need my brain.
I will sometimes go. I'll sometimes cycle it 3 times, or sometimes I'll do this 3, do this 3, do this 3.
Okay.
But it's pretty cool because eventually you start having fun with it, and you start sitting down going, "Ooh, last time I did this, I did jump squats right after speed squats. That was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. I should have put abs in the middle or something." But then you get to be your own creator, and if you make it fun, you'll keep it up. There's no pressure. There's nothing wrong with you if you find it too hard. Well, cool. Maybe it's okay to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah,
But
and
push to your tolerance level, and what you'll find is that tolerance level grows.
as a caveat too, when you guys are starting, like let's say you're going from doing 0 exercise and working out to now you're doing stuff, like you do need to gauge yourself some, right? Like start off slow, do a little bit, see how you feel and see how you respond during it. And if you're feeling good, you're like, okay, I'm good, then continue and kind of increase it more and more. I think a big part for people why they tend to fall off track too is because they also feel like, well, I'm not seeing results quick enough. Like it's a lot of work, but it's like, but I don't see any differences. The reason we love this Maxi 3, and I apologize if you're gonna talk about this, the reason we love this stuff so much is because your body goes through what's called an afterburn effect, because you're actually working on balancing your hormones. So it's not like where you jump on a treadmill and you're running, you're walking or whatever, and as soon as you stop doing that, you stop burning calories, you stop burning fat, everything is done, right? With this sort of interval training, guys, for the next 24 to 36 hours after your workout is done, your body is still burning fat. So literally, like you do a workout this morning, by breakfast the next day, you're still burning fat from the workout you did today, even though you're doing all this other stuff. So you start to see change in the results actually much faster, which can also help you gain momentum. Okay? Does that make sense?
Great, we don't have to cover that later.
I'm sorry. I got excited.
What I'm trying to do now is give you the practical steps. Then I want to show you why it's better. It's better because you're using
The
less time.
spirit moved you.
You had 12 minutes to jump in. 12 minutes. Or then there's this version, which is also 12 minutes, by the way. You're not sprinting for 2020. You're doing 60 seconds, but it's much slower. I wouldn't say much slower. You still, by the end of that 60 seconds, you should be grateful for that, you know. But usually what we do here is you do one exercise, and the break is really just long enough to get to the next exercise, and then the next one. If you do 6, then you get a 60 second break, and then you do it again. But it's really good to, for instance, if you're looking at these examples, you start out with legs, then you move the upper body, back to legs. This is more abs, back to legs, back to upper body. You don't want to do 2 legs in a row, because you're giving your legs a rest while you're doing something else, right? It's active rest. There is a very, very well-known personal trainer at Metro Fitness over here. He owns the gym. I don't think it's still this way, but it used to be people would move to Columbus to train with him. His wife was once, I think she was a world champion years in a row for fitness. His style, people still pay him. He makes several $100s an hour. And his style, it's a 45-minute session, and you don't stop. You just don't stop. And it is some of the most brutal stuff I've ever been through. And I've got a very brutal background, and his stuff is tough, and you don't stop. And the idea is you're getting active rest. If your legs are working, your legs are resting, something else is getting work. You don't need, and what we're really doing here is we're training your body chemistry. This isn't about building muscles or burning fat, it's training your body chemistry. I always say I can lock 10 people in a room, lock 10 people in a closet, and all 10 will lose weight. Some will lose more weight than others, and the reason that is because their body chemistry allows for better fat burning and muscle building, right? It's all about chemistry. It's just a simple chemistry problem. Problem is things get too complex. We start saying this is hard, I don't understand it, so I'm not gonna do it, right? This is very simple. 60 seconds on, move to the next one, another 60 seconds. And when we were doing it in Texas, I think Texas is the best example because, again, you've got a wide range, a 40, 50 year age gap. And we had people that could barely stand up, right? But they're doing variations of the same exercise. One person's doing push-ups on the floor, one's using the wall, one's using a chair. But it's doing things and adapting to what you can do, right? So, a couple of other ideas here. She mentioned a couple of them already. When you've got commercials, do it then. Put something in the oven, you can just move. The idea is just to move. Movement is life. Most of us spend too much time sedentary. Movement is life. 3 10-minute walks equals 1 30-minute walk. And actually the science shows that it actually burns better because you're not reaching that threshold. You're burning more consistently throughout the day. Better than that, and by the way, I still advocate that because sometimes you got to clear your head sometimes too. That's a good way to do it. But through this, you're setting up your body chemistry to burn fat longer. You're growing your growth hormone, your human growth hormone. So you're building muscle faster, and muscle helps burn fat. You're getting more fit. You're feeling better. You're loosening up your belt. Suddenly you're changing the notch on your watch, which you didn't even think about, but now your watch fits better. You look better in pictures. You like taking pictures again, right? You start looking younger. People start saying nice things about you. Well, this is what we can have. Other challenges, things like 100 push-ups a day, or you could say, I like this one where you alternate 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 push-ups, or you say 50 push-ups, 50 squats, 50 push-ups, 50 squats. I've seen that one too. Get a rebounder. You guys know what a rebounder is? Rebounder is this magic tool. It's a little trampoline.
That's what I'm Dennis Rodman.
That's all it is. What's that?
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. That's the elbower. Dennis Rodman. A rebounder is a little trampoline. And literally, to work out on a rebounder, you don't jump. You can, you don't want to. And you're just bouncing. Do that for 10 minutes. You are going to be, your dog is not going to know what to do with you. Can we go outside for our walk yet? No, I'm here. But a rebounder raises your heart rate to a cardio level. But also, did you know your body doesn't have your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump? This is your pump. Boosting your immune system too. How cool is that? Big fan of the rebounder.
And even more so for your immune system too, it's also about like most people, because we're sedentary all the time, like you have a whole lymphatic system in your pelvic area here, and when you're sitting and you're sedentary and you're not moving, that area doesn't move. So that actually can contribute to a lot of lower back issues, a lot of low back pain that's chronic, that doesn't go away because you're not getting the body moving, you're not getting that lymphatic system moving. So the rebounders are really great. Yeah, you can do that. It's the same thing as like jumping in place if you want to do something like that, or like going up and down on your toes. Running can do the same sort of stuff, but rebounders are great because you can literally sit there and you can just bounce while you watch TV. Problem solved, right? Like, I don't want to take time away.
It takes up this much space.
It's just, yes. Kids love it. If you got kids or grandkids, they'll love standing on it and bouncing too. You might have to fight them for it, but it's a really, really great. And they're not expensive at all. They're pretty inexpensive.
So now the bonus key, the torture chamber.
You didn't tell me about this.
No, well, now show it.
You know, I wasn't gonna, but now I did a lunch and learn once. She was there. I did a lunch and learn where, what did I say? I think I told everyone that we were gonna do 100 air squats or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
They thought I was serious. Like, oh guys, no, hold on, sit that down. We were doing some other exercises as a part of it. I'm not gonna make you guys do that today.
Next time.
One of the reasons people stop doing it, one of the reasons people stop exercising, one of the reasons people stop making decisions for their health is it gets hard. Now, if you were to walk a mile and suddenly walk 2 miles, what would happen to your body? Pretty much not a lot. What if you've never run a mile and now you're gonna go run a mile?
Right, a heart attack.
No.
Statistically, probably nothing. Now, I'm not saying you go do that. What I am saying is the reason we stop doing things is because they get
Be on
hard.
the side of the road.
What if you lean into the hard? What if you start enjoying the hard? What if there's something to be said for liking the torture chamber? And then the torturer eventually has to give up, and now you're having a spa day. What if you're in the torture chamber and you just run? Or you go work out? What if that voice in the morning that says, no, you're going to be sore tomorrow, what if you respond to that voice with, good. Sore means I did something right. I worked out. I kept my promise to myself. I'm just saying, what if? What if you were to answer that voice with, good. You guys know who Jocko is? Jocko's a Navy SEAL. It says, discipline is freedom. You'll never be more free in your life than you're disciplined. And that voice in your head that says you can't is not your creator. The voice that says you cannot do something is not the voice that created you. That's the voice that's limiting you. So what if you lean into it? What if you start believing in yourself a little bit more? And what if it sucks? Is it going to suck next time? Yeah, probably. What about the time after that? What about the time after that? By the way, what sucks more? Having no energy, feeling bloated, having to buy a new pair of pants because the old ones don't fit anymore. Doing that whole thing after dinner where you get the groan, you guys know the groan? Because you ate too much. What's harder? What's a bigger torture chamber? That life? Or the life that knows that, yeah, I gotta get up in the morning, or I've gotta go after work, and I've gotta put in my 12 minutes, and now I get to live longer and happier. Which one would you want? What do you prefer? Because these are the questions we have to answer ourselves. Because if you're given that diagnosis hits everyone that's not hit by a bus. That diagnosis hits everyone at some point in their life. If it hasn't hit you, it's hit a family member. And when that diagnosis comes, you have a choice. Which suck do I lean into? Which torture chamber do I choose? There's a torture chamber behind both doors. There's the one you get to choose, and there's the one that's chosen you. And the one that you get to choose, you literally turn it into a spa day. That's kind of cool. Because you have that power. My 7-year-old is starting to understand this, by the way. We get to have those talks because I've been hanging out with Tony Robbins too long. But she knows that that voice inside your head saying, I can't, is not the voice of your creator. That's that old brain that is still looking for saber-toothed tigers. You don't have that brain. There's no saber-toothed tigers. And if you walk an extra mile, you will have gone an extra mile. And if you're sore in the morning, good. I've got some things to help you be a little less sore. But when torture is useful, you can go beyond those boundaries. The Goggins method, by the way, you guys know who David Goggins is? Okay, this guy's cool. Don't listen to the audiobook with children around.
No.
I
Listen to anything he says with children.
Yeah, probably pretty
That's
much.
true, yeah.
I'm not even sure there's a family. So David Goggins was a Navy SEAL. David Goggins, I think, is the perfect example of what the human body is capable of. Because here's a man who, I forget the number, but he weighed over 300 pounds. And I think he had something like 30 days. He's like, he walks out of the bathroom, took a shower, can't even wrap a towel around his waist. Sees a special on TV about Navy SEALs and goes, I want to be a SEAL. Dude can't even put a towel around his waist. Right? And he, in that moment, found the leverage within him. It wasn't that diagnosis. His diagnosis was, I'm not going to be a Navy SEAL. He had to lose something like 100 pounds in like a month or something, some silly number. And he did it. That was just the first test. He couldn't read. He had to learn how to read. He's literally learning how to read on the tread or on the rowing machine in his living room. It's all in the book. Then he goes out. He gets through. He goes through. He gets in. They didn't even want him to get in. He gets in. He goes through Navy SEAL Hell Week, which most people, something like 80% drop out before that week is over. He went through it, and after it was over, was medically disqualified. I think it's because he broke his shins or something. No, it was the lungs. Something happened. This guy's always got something going on. Right. Then he goes back and does it again. He did Hell Week twice. He goes back, he does Hell Week, pushes through, makes it out, found it too easy. Then he started noticing that Navy SEALs were taking life too easy. He also went through Army Rangers, their version of Hell Week. He's now an ultra marathon runner. The guy runs 100 miles. He wanted to go for a charity. He wanted to go run an ultra marathon, like the hardest. I forget what it's called, but it's in like Arizona or something. He wanted to go run this, and for him to be qualified to do it, he had to have run a 100-mile race. He'd never run a 100-mile race before, so he said, "All right, I'll go run a 100-mile race." Never done it before. Partway through, had fractures in both of his legs. Finished the race. I'm not saying you do that. What I'm saying is your reasons for not doing it are probably reasons that are holding you back. Because by the way, I'm not saying do that, just to be clear, but I am saying if you choose between working out 5 days a week instead of 4, or 2 days instead of 1, or 1 day instead of none, with the goal of making it to 2 to 3 to 4. That's better than you were. The voice in your head that is saying, nah, not today, we'll do it tomorrow, it's not the voice of your creator. And I think you know it. And I think we all know that. Just what happens. Just what happens. I'm not saying, I'm definitely not saying go do what David Goggins did. But I'm saying he's a very good example of what happens if you just override your mind. Sorry, your body. If your mind overrides your body, just what happens if your mind overrides your body? Every reason you just came up with. I mean, so what happens when we get sore though? The story you don't hear about David Goggins is he then spends the next 90 days laid up in a bed somewhere, right? In fact, he had a moment where he actually had some severe health issues that were related to this. Turns out his muscles got so tight, he literally stretches 2 hours a day because his muscles got so tight and it was cutting off all the blood. He had compartment syndrome. He couldn't do it anymore. So there is an override. But there's things that we can do. Warm up. Hello, have you heard this before? Anybody ever told you to warm up before you work out? Right? Did you know that stretching before you work out does nothing at all for avoiding injury? Nothing. Your 8th grade softball coach lied to you. But warming up does. Or static stretches. Static stretches will be while you're warming, you do a few more things in football. You do high knees, you do, karaoke or tapioca, things, you're moving your hips around, things like that.
Tapioca pudding.
Are you gonna make me do this here?
I've never heard of tapioca.
All right, it's chopping feet by it. I'm not gonna do it here. I'm not doing 1-2. I don't run a 4-5 anymore.
Jump.
So next one is push it, but don't Goggins it. I'm giving you Goggins because I'm trying to show us the reasons that we have for not doing it really aren't good reasons. Once in a while, definitely push it too far. But once in a while. If you're the obsessive type, pull back. Don't do it every workout. Right now it's all about a recovery. Everything's about recovery. Why do professional athletes have chiropractors? For them, it's all about recovery. We know that the nervous system helps them recover faster. And that's how they make their millions. LeBron James is a chiropractor who traveled with him, right, on his payroll. This guy's got one patient. It's LeBron James. Probably in his family, I'm guessing. Because it's all about recovery. Recovery. Warm up, push it, don't kill it. Sleep. Sleep is like your body's reset button, right? This thing, if I don't sleep well enough, it tells me. If I go, it's really cool. If you don't know what a whoop is, look into whoop. It's called
There
whoop.
it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Say it louder.
This tracks my sleep. I know exactly how much deep sleep, how much REM I had. I know how much light sleep, how often you wake up all night. We all wake up all night. It tells me how much, how often, for how long, right? Over about a 7-hour period, you wake up for about an hour and a half, most people. So you're not getting 7 hours of sleep, you're getting about 5.5, by the way, if you didn't know that. But the next one, stay on your adjustments. Exercise is important, but the most important thing is for your body to be able to communicate with your muscles, right? Take the right supplements, which is why we're bringing out a new one. This is a sneak peek. We're actually launching it at the makeover, Max Fit. Max Fit has decaffeinated green coffee bean extract. So that's the antioxidant. Ashwagandha, also antioxidant. Glutamine, carnitine, creatine. Creatine has been around. Creatine is found in meat, by the way. Creatine is the most studied supplement of all time. It's been popular since the 1990s.
Ashwagandha, really quick, going back to ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a adaptogenic. So when you're stressed and your cortisol levels are super high and you're drinking caffeine and you're stressing out your body even more, you need to support your adrenals. Ashwagandha is a really, really effective natural herb that actually does that. It comes from a plant. So ashwagandha is really great with that. L-carnitine is really good. L-carnitine helps shuttle the fat into the cells to be able to actually utilize it and break down your fat. So it's a really great supplement to take in addition to all the workouts and the exercise and things after you eat as well.
think about what that means. It means that you're burning fat faster.
Makes it more effective.
And this isn't some fringe supplement. This is
Amino acid.
bodybuilders take these things, right? But it's amino acid.
Yeah.
Here's the difference if you're not aware. Everything that we have, every supplement that we have has been third-party tested. I have a friend who has supplements. His face is on them, I think, or at least they used to be. But it's supplements, and he wanted me to carry them. And I asked him. I said, "Are they third-party tested?" He said, "Ours are." Third-party tested means somebody who doesn't make any money and has no vested interest on this working has tried it out, and they found out that it works exactly as they say it does. And we can see it when we do metabolic testing. If you've ever, has anybody here had a metabolic test through us? So when we do we don't advertise it like we used to. We used to have posters up and everything. Now we still do them. We still have them. But if you get a metabolic test, we can absolutely see if you've got gut problems, and you go on our protocol. You can see by the end of that, you can take the retest. What's in the bottle? What's on the label's in the bottle. And so when this person that I know said he wanted me to carry his stuff, is it third party tested? He couldn't answer that. Well, he could, but he danced around it because he knew where I was going. He wouldn't tell me. It's very rare. It's
And guys,
very cool to have.
Most supplements that you get at Kroger, GNC, Costco, they're not third party tested, by the way. Like, they don't necessarily contain all the stuff that it says it contains on the label, just so you guys are aware. If you think about it, what happens then, you end up spending more money trying to get all these supplements that aren't actually containing things that it says, so therefore you're not getting the benefits from it. They usually add a lot of additives and fillers in it, and then you end up spending more and more money because then you have to take extra stuff because it didn't have all this stuff. So where you invest, like, the quality absolutely does matter. Supplements are very, very poorly regulated in America. Like, there are virtually no recommendations or like regulation parties for supplements themselves. The government tries to like get rid of supplements. There's like, oh no, we shouldn't have any of those at all. But make sure you do your research and there's a lot of really great companies out there as well that aren't just ours, but our whole family takes all of our supplements. Like, it's what I love about ours is because we know exactly where they come from. We know the source is. You can't always say that about things. So you want to, whatever you do take, you want to make sure you know where it comes from, and we absolutely do know. So
It's as simple as the CEO of the company of brand X keeps his job based off of the stock price, and doesn't have to do anything other than sell the product. So it's that simple.
if it's cheap enough, they'll sell a lot of product, unfortunately.
Pre-workout, I get asked this all the time. Please don't take pre-workout. The normal, like, high, if it smells like it came chemically in a lab somewhere, don't take it.
Super fruity.
If it's got weird flavors or whatever, it makes you jittery, don't take it. This is really simple. For me, take the Max Fit, and you can take it as a pre-workout, although recommended is you take it with your meals. Because again, we're setting up a body chemistry. NOx support. NOx support is effectively a pre-workout. You know what I take? NOx support, and we don't carry it. It's powdered beets. Powdered beets is a vasodilator. What are the active ingredients in a pre-workout drink? Vasodilator, arginine basically, and that's what's in here, arginine, which is an amino acid. Arginine, bunch of chemicals, 18 cups of coffee, and that's what's in that. Please do not take that, and 18 different colors. You don't want to take that either. All right. So I recommend before you work out, and I'm not saying if you're a bodybuilder, this is for everyone. Vasodilator just means it opens up the blood cells and allows for nutrients to move faster and better. You had a pump when you've worked out, that's because you've got arginine. It's vasodilator, right? So there's one more key, which is the throne room. Exercise is an important function of health, but your muscles and your blood oxygen don't control your health. The throne room does. And even though she's the chiropractor, I get to start out because I geek out over this. Exercise contributes to function and health. Chiropractic controls it. So here's our throne room. Nervous system is the king of your health. What's the king? Who sits on the throne? Your brain, spinal cord, and nerves. This is what controls your health. This is core chiropractic. This is why a chiropractor is talking about health. Because it all starts in between your ears. And we've been doing you a disservice if you don't know the function of the brain. The thing you learned in 8th grade, how everything starts here and moves down. I'm going to let her finish to talk about that. But I'm going to talk more about who crowns the king. Anybody know who crowns the king? This is King Charles. Who's crowning him?
The Archbishop.
Archbishop of Canterbury. Archbishop Welby right there. Why is he crowning the king? Why is a chess piece crowning a different chess piece? Why is the Archbishop crowning the king? Who's the Archbishop? The Archbishop of Canterbury, by the way.
Well, the king is the head of the church,
The head
and
of
he's
the
number
church.
2.
Oh, yeah, effectively. So, who gives the Archbishop the power?
God.
God. Who gives your body the power to heal itself?
God.
I'm going to say God. You can say innate. I'm okay with that. Innate health.
God, the creator.
Your creator, the creator. If you want to say the universe, this isn't a religious class, I'm okay with that. Right? I'm not trying to offend anybody. But what I can say is that there is a created order. And the thing that sits on the throne of your health is your brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Now, the inner theologian in me is supposed to say, this is supposed to go on this big long diatribe because, as you know, I've got a master's of arts in religion and I need to talk about that. Do you know I'm a licensed minister? I can go give your wedding if you want.
Preach it, brother, preach it.
But I'm trying very hard not to go off on a tangent.
We'll keep that in mind.
Did it once, don't want to do it.
It's hard for me to say, who sits on the throne? Jesus Christ! No, it's actually the brain and spinal cord and the nerves.
Dad reading the newspaper. Oh.
That's right. But who crowns it? Who crowns the king? God, the universe, innate, whatever you want to say. I'm okay with whatever. This isn't that kind of class today. I'm not trying to anything. Where's the king crowned? Well, this is Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey, by the way, every king of England has ever been crowned there since 1066, Norman invasion. Here's another cool piece. You can still see it. This is the Stone of Destiny. Not even lying. Every king of Scotland and England has been crowned on this. The Stone of Destiny is Edward's chair. You can still,
And every Irish king has been crowned at the Hill of Tara. They have a big stone obelisk there.
Where is that?
In Ireland.
But where? It's not Dublin.
Huh?
Is
No,
that
it's not in
west somewhere?
Dublin. It's in,
Quite
it's
cool.
I'm trying to think what county it's in.
It's out
I've been
west.
there.
Yeah. Cool. So, Stone of Destiny, this is Edward's chair, Edward the Confessor, the first king of England. So every king of England, by the way, this is a bit of a throw at the Scots. Every king of England is also sitting on the same stone. They just slide it inside of the chair. And ever since, when was this? Since
Your destiny is up to the stone.
it came back from Scotland, so they keep it in Scotland now, up at Holyrood Palace. No, it's at Edinburgh Castle. They keep that stone up there and they bring it down. That's how important that is. Well, I'm trying to draw a correlation here. What here is the most important part when it comes to your upper cervical, which is the base of your stem.
Your stones?
Base of your stem.
Your brain stem.
And not even just the most important of your neck, but like literally your whole body, right, guys? Like the Atlas. I mean, look at what Atlas is. Like Atlas. That was Greek mythology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like holds the world on his shoulders, right? Like literally holding the world, which is your brain. Like if your brain does not communicate, things do not function. You can eat all the organic food, you can exercise every day long, but every single part of your body has to be controlled by your nervous system. If I cut any of those nerves, we all know it stops, right? So it controls your organs, it controls your body's ability to heal and recover, like you mentioned earlier. So you can't compromise and you can't just think, okay, well, I'm just gonna exercise my way to good health. I'm just gonna exercise and do all this stuff. You can do those things, and I'm not saying don't, but you're going to max out at where you get to with where you're trying to go, okay, in terms of your health. Everything is controlled, as we know, by your nervous system. And so just by adjusting, you guys might not even realize that very top bone, they've done research studies, and they found that just by adjusting that very top vertebrae in your neck, it can actually lower the blood pressure up to 17 points. Just by that one.
And by the way, Jack Wolfson has duplicated this. He's done this. His wife's a chiropractor. He's a cardiologist. He's seen this. He's duplicated this study. So.
Yeah. Improves lung function. It improves automatic functions. Automatic, which obviously like swallowing and digestion and all those sort of things, increases your heart rate variability. Do you guys know what heart rate variability is? Have you guys heard of that before? If you've never heard of it, it's really important to know, because your heart rate variability, it's actually a predictor of your overall health and your cardiovascular health. So your heart rate is supposed to go up and down, right? If you've ever noticed, like, first thing in the morning it might be kind of low, or if you're sitting and you're moving around a lot, like your heart rate goes up a little bit and then it kind of goes down, like especially if you monitor it. Your heart rate variability is your heart's ability to actually go up and down significantly. Like, we want a large heart rate variability, meaning that your heart rate will go up when it needs to, but it also lowers back down when it needs to. A sign of heart stress or dysfunction in heart disease is when you have a very low heart rate variability, meaning like your heart rate might go up, but it doesn't ever fully come down and recover. So if you think, like, let's say your heart rate's always in always in like the 80s, 90s, 100s or whatever, and it doesn't really go up and down a whole lot, think about the stress that your body is under with your heart rate constantly being high. Think about your blood pressure. Think about the effects that has to do. By exercising, by getting adjusted, it helps to regulate that heart rate variability better, because the adjustments help stimulate the parasympathetic part of your nervous system, which is the resting and the digesting. So if you're always stressed, you're always on the go, you're never giving your body time to rest, your sympathetic is in overdrive. You guys have all heard of like the sympathetic nervous system, right? And parasympathetic. Sympathetic is like, there's a tiger, I gotta either fight or run away, right? That's our fight or flight. We're only supposed to be spending about 30 to 40% of our life in sympathetic drive, right? The other 70-60% is supposed to be spent in parasympathetic. The problem is, most people, especially in our society, it's completely flipped. We are only spending 40% in the parasympathetic and 60% in the sympathetic dominance. Think about that constant stress, right? Stress is one of the biggest effects on your overall health right now in just our society, right? We have more stress. So you have to do things to regulate your nervous system or regulate your body, and that's where the nervous system comes in. It helps your body mitigate and lower inflammation. If you've ever seen, I've seen this over the 13 years or whatever that I've been practice, like where people are like, I did nothing different, but now all of a sudden my thyroid works better. I've done nothing different other than getting adjusted, and all of a sudden my blood pressure is better, or my digestion is better, or my insulin is better, or my diabetes, I'm taking less of insulin, like all these things. Yes, ma'am.
What's the formula for your figuring out your resting heart rate should be?
I don't know if off the top of my head, do you?
The shortest, what it should be or what it is?
No, what it should be.
I want to say it's anywhere between, you might know, is it 60 to 70, I think is usually, 60 to 80 I think is like the normal range.
Around 60 to 60
Yeah.
to 70.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like age dependent or anything.
I don't think for
No,
resting
I don't
per
think
se,
so.
yeah.
Okay.
Now if somebody's a more elite athlete, they're gonna have a lower resting heart rate.
Yeah.
What's really nice about the different things that you can wear, Fitbits and Oura Rings and whatever, is that you can actually track to see what your heart rate's like at night. At night, your resting heart rate should go down, right? And they say, like, my Oura Ring will track and say, oh, your resting heart rate lowered late last night, right? And there's a lot of reasons that can factor into that. Eating late at night, right before bed, your resting heart rate's gonna stay high, guys, right? That's just not bad for your metabolism, it's bad for your heart as well. So you don't wanna eat right before you go to bed. Having high stress right before bed, exercising right before bed. That might not be the best time to exercise, right? Because your body's gonna be ramped up and then you're trying to go to bed. It's like, it's gonna take a while for your heart rate to go down as you're sleeping, right? So you wanna make sure that you've got a good lower heart rate as you're sleeping with that. Warning signs, I mean, you guys know, like, there's any symptom that you get can be a potential warning sign that your body isn't functioning or healing as good as it could.
We used to call them symptoms, now they're warning signs.
Yeah, it's like a
I
check
call
engine
it, it's a
lights.
warning sign.
Yeah.
It's not a symptom, it's a warning sign. You got back pain, that's not a symptom, that's a warning sign. It's a signal that something is happening. Something isn't quite going well. Let's get it checked.
So keeping up on those things, guys, and not just saying, oh, well, but that warning sign's not that bad. It's like, check engine lights on your car. Like, you can ignore them, but what's gonna happen if you do that long enough, right? Something is gonna break down. So what's the solution? Oops, we're jumping into that. So what's the solution is make sure you're staying consistent with your workout, or sorry, your adjusting routine. Like, make your visits. I would love to say, like we mentioned earlier, like if I could wrap you in a bubble and take away all your stress and make sure you're eating all good foods all day long, yeah, we wouldn't have to see you that often. But the fact of the matter is look at what goes on outside of these four walls, right? Like, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of things that we're doing that we are trying to now mitigate. The idea is to get your body stronger. A stronger body is harder to kill, right? Like, in all sense of the word. Exactly, right, buddy? We gotta stay strong. So that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, staying strong with all that. Do your home exercises, right? Even though they're not like a workout type exercise, but fit those in throughout the day, because that is also part of your defense system. It's like that extra moat around your castle of like helping keep your body stronger so it can better handle the attacks of life. Okay, it all works together. And then that goes into the next solution that we have is in 4 weeks, is our next makeover event that we talked about and we alluded to. It's Saturday.
This is a Saturday.
It's a Saturday
Not a
morning,
Tuesday.
guys. So
You lost it. You lost a reason not to come.
block
You're here.
off that. It's too
I'm
dark.
looking at you, Facebook.
It's too late. There's no darkness or lateness at 9 a.m. So from
How
9
long
to
does it
12.
last?
9 to 12. So it's going to be a little bit of a longer workshop. We will have some light snacks here.
This is different. This is not a workshop, but this is a masterclass. But
Very different. Yes.
but we're gonna have some vendors here. We'll have I've got some representatives that are coming, like some gym and some other like-minded sort of things that are good. They're going to be here to help be part of what we're talking about. It's all about metabolic health. 9 out of 10 people suffer in some way with metabolic disease.
And you might not realize what that means, like what my metabolism. It's not just metabolism. If somebody has like polycystic ovary disease or syndrome, if you've got issues with diabetes, like weight loss resistance, cardiovascular issues,
If your face feels fuller than it
chronic
used to,
inflammation.
if your face feels fuller than it used to, if you notice that your ring starts getting tight or loose, or maybe it's just tight all the time, a lot of times if you're holding fluids, if you've got to wear compression socks, or especially if you're on an airplane or a long drive, and you're feeling that in your legs, these are some of the more common signs people have. If you're tired all the time, that's one of the signs. That means a lot of things, but that's one of the signs of metabolic disease. And 9 out of 10 people suffer from symptoms of metabolic disease. Now, metabolic disease can tend to be this big net that we're throwing around everything. I don't like labels. I think people hang on to labels. They make them part of their identity, and they'd rather have the label of that than the label of the person who overcame that. Right? When I was dying of heart failure, I owed it to my family to be the one who overcame heart failure, not that 9 out of 10 who didn't. And I want you to be that too. I want you to be the one who overcomes the things that are going on in your life. I want to be the one that you choose to overcome. And so we wrote down these 3 reasons why you didn't exercise. And I hope I gave you some reasons why you should. Now I want you to think more about when those 3 reasons rear their head. You've got some more armor now. Your castles, you've got the materials to build a better castle. Think about those 3 reasons that you wrote down earlier, and the next time those 3 reasons rear their head, think about the answer that you're going to give. One of my guiding forces lately has been just simply the word decide. I'm going to hold a talk. In fact, I will. In fact, in a couple of weeks, I am. I'm doing a talk on goal setting at a lunch and learn for a business. By the way, I totally want to come into your business. I'll do a lunch and learn for you guys, or she can come too. I do most of them. I don't see patients all day. But it's the idea around deciding. What does decide mean? Decide is the old Latin. It means decidere, to cut off. I have decided. If it's on this side of the line, it's mine. If it's over there, it's not. On this side of the line, I work out at 5 o'clock. Over there is, I can do it later. You decided. And if you've ever negotiated a contract, a lease, a credit card, a mortgage, anything, once you've got that contract, you don't then renegotiate it. You've decided. And trust me, the time to renegotiate that contract is not while you're lying in bed when you decided you're going to the gym in 15 minutes. That version of you doesn't want to go to the gym, but you've decided. I've caught myself doing that a couple of times in the last couple of months, where I'll roll over, not today, I can do it later. And I go, no, you decided. By the way, yeah, I could do it later. But I decided I'm doing it at 5:15. And so I'm going at 5:15 because I decided I was going to. Decided means I've cut it off. And if you're going to decide, now you're going to exercise. If you decide now is my time to lose the weight, now is my time to be healthy, decide. And then don't renegotiate your contract. Don't turn back. Decide. And once you've decided, that's yours now. You're on a new path. It is in the moments of decision that your destiny is formed. We wait for something to happen. We think that these things are going to take weeks, months, or years. And it does. It takes weeks, months, or years to get to that point where you make that decision. But once you've made that decision, now you're on a new path. And so you wrote those reasons. Now, I want you to write 3 reasons why you're on a new path. What's the new path? But the reasons aren't what you're going to happen to get on that path. Those reasons are why you're on that path. Write down 3 reasons. You can do a word, 2, 3 words, whatever. You don't need whole sentences. But 3 reasons why you deserve, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to keep your exercise goals, whatever those goals are. I want 3. 3 reasons why you are going to keep those, why you deserve them, why your family deserves it. 3 reasons. 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, something like that. You're not going on a rant, you're just writing a few words. What's your reason? And then I want you to go to these reasons later. And when you decide, I'm going to do this, and that little voice that's not your creator starts creeping back in and says, nah, not today. You're going to look at your 3 reasons and you're going to go, absolutely today. I decided today, and here's why. Here's my 3 reasons why. And one of those reasons might be I decided. That's good enough. That's good enough for me. But usually my reasons.
I need to
Won't be
live
the same
longer
as
for my
yours.
cat.
Todd said, I like that.
Todd said.
Todd
That's
said.
funny. He said he'll find me.
Ask me if not.
What would Todd do?
Yeah, what would Todd do?
By the way, that is another good tool. Not what would Todd do. This is, in fact, I was talking to her about that this morning. I was reading a book, and I said, this guy has gotten into my head because I do a technique that I thought I invented, but apparently he's where if I'm looking for a role model, there is no better role model for you than you in the future, having done the things you said you were going to do. A really good reason that you should work out is because future you, if that person could come back and talk to you now, that person's going to say, dude, come on, you said you were going to do it. This is what happens if you do. You turn out like this. That's a really good technique. The best motivator is future you. That's the best role model. You're not going to have a better role model than future you. And I thought I invented that, and then I read a book and somebody else said the same thing.
There are no truly new ideas.
That's actually true. That's actually true.
And I will say too, it's not that you want to focus on this, but it's also not always a bad
No
idea,
offense.
like, to look at that future you, what if you don't? Right, like, what if this future you can come back and say, because you didn't do X, Y, Z, this is what's going on now. This is what's happened. Okay, don't hang in there, don't stay on there. Focus on if you do though. But that's not always a bad thing to do for some people to be able to make those changes for themselves.
Future you might be dead.
Future you might be done. You're absolutely right.
Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Dickens.
There you go.
With Tony Robbins, we do a process called the Dickens process. And he takes you through that, and you're quite sure that if you don't make this change right now, your family's gonna leave you, you're gonna be broken on the street, you're gonna lose your job, you're gonna lose your family, you're gonna die.
Oh, he's good at
But it's extremely effective. So, action
2
steps. Number 1, keep up with your chiropractic care because your health is controlled by that. Your muscles are controlled by that, your heart is controlled by that, it's controlled by your nervous system. You wanna make sure that's functioning. Number 2, the makeover. Next month, it's a Saturday morning,
16?
the 16th. I've literally been wearing this thing since Christmas or so because I'm doing my own research on it. The thing beeps if it goes off. If it's below 55, the thing, and there's no way to turn it off. And it goes crazy on me.
When does the challenge start?
Why?
Because the 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and I'm going to
It
undo
will-
all the good that I learned on Saturday.
So this is why I said why.
It's my one day a year.
Yeah. So it's going to start shortly after.
Okay.
We're going to go over the details of it later,
As
but we
long
want
as
to give
it
people
start on
enough
the
time.
17th, I'm good.
We want to give people enough time. I'm off to Vegas that next day. I've got to go get something while I'm there. I'm not big gambling.
Money?
No, I'm gonna use it. I think those pretty fountains are because they're giving away money.
Yeah.
But I've got something work related to do while I'm there. And if I can do it while I'm there, now I'm not saying do it over St. Patrick's Day because you're only human. I mean, there are limits.
Yes.
But the challenge is going to be unlike any challenge we've had before. You're going to weigh in. You're going to weigh out at the end. We're going to keep you accountable, right? You don't have to tell anybody your weight. We'll record it. You don't have to tell anybody else if you don't want to. There will be prizes for the top 3 transformations. But why are we doing a 30-day challenge as a part of this? If you've been with us for any amount of time, this will be the third. Is it the third challenge? We did a 7-day or 14-day.
10 day.
10 day.
10 day?
10
Wait,
day.
when is
You
a 10
did a
day?
4-week one.
10 day was Christmas.
Yes.
10 days of health.
We
Give
did
the
it.
Yeah,
gift.
the carnivore.
Yeah.
That's the one I was talking
That
about.
was 4 weeks.
Yes.
I don't know my own office apparently.
Oh.
So
Well, I didn't do, I started it before you did.
Yes, that's true. Yes,
That's
so
right, that's
this, yeah, and then we did
So-
that and
You
then.
guys, you guys are really dicking around.
So-
You wouldn't get
she's like, can you get this party started? But we want to give people enough tools to be mentally prepared, but not so many tools that they're dragging it out. Okay. I want to consult with my team before we get all the details, but I think it's going to be the following Monday.
On your packets, guys, there's a little QR code. Pull out the packet of the sheet.
I want to mention all of our events that we do. There's a couple of exceptions to this. This is a free event. The makeover, we're going to ask you to put something down. Okay? It's $10 to get in. 2 for a limited time. It's going to be 2 for $15. So we've got to guess just a little bit more. If you come in the door, it's going to be $25. But we're going to make sure that you're getting out of it. We're going to have food here, snacks. We're going to have vendors with their own stuff. We're going to make this. I trust me, it's going to be worth it. It's going to absolutely be worth it. This is the best. This is the best event we will ever do until we do it a year later. Makeover. But this is all. If you want to be healthy, your metabolism and your metabolic health is probably the main thing. It's the main thing that holds most people back. Right, and we're going to be talking at length about that. But it's not just going to be fire hose of information. In fact, it's not going to be that at all. I want to give you enough information, but I will literally take you by the hand through the 30-day challenge. I will literally give you on this day, here's a recommendation for this day. Here's what I would eat. Here's what the exercise would look like.
There'll be handouts.
Yes, I mean we're gonna have folders. So this is a top production. A lot of other offices in our position, in our network of people at Max Living, they go out and they rent out a church or something. They'll have 100 people, 200 people there. This is our first time doing it. I'm not prepared to do that yet. Now, if the numbers swell, then we'll have a change of venue, but right now the plan is to do it right here. But guests are recommended. We're gonna have Facebook ads, so there's gonna be outside people coming in too.
But you guys can scan this and actually send it to people, send it to your friends, and it'll take them to a page that they can register that way. So it's super easy.
We've set up a landing page.
Yeah, it's super easy.
restorecourtyard.com/makeover. This QR code will take you there. To register, scan this. It goes to that page. You can put that information in. Or we have a paper sign-up sheet, which I think is over there, or it's somewhere.
It's over here.
And once you have that sign-up sheet, we'll just talk about the $10 thing later. They can run the car that you have on or whatever. Again, one more time, we're gonna make it worth your while. There will be discounts, that's gonna more than make that back. Another way would be just a text or call in. You can always sign up for we wanna know if you're coming. So you can always literally just text the office and say, come in the workshop, and they will say, okay, signing you up. I want to make this as easy as sharing a Facebook post, right? Easy as you can make it. Once you decided to come, don't renegotiate. You said you're coming, right? But once you decided, let's make that happen.
And especially because there's a challenge part with it as well. Doing that with an accountability buddy makes it so much easier and makes it so much more likely that you will actually stick to things too, right? Because you're having somebody else that you guys hopefully won't talk each other out of it. So get an accountability partner that's stronger than you, so that way you don't talk yourself out or you don't talk each other out of it, right? And these places, like when we do our master classes and things like this, great times to meet friends and meet accountability partners, because it's people that you don't know, they don't know your whole history. Great. Can you keep me accountable? Let me send you my number. Let me text or talk to you while you're in the office if you guys want to do that sort of stuff. But definitely bring a guest, bring somebody with you, especially if you want to make life changes in your life. It's so much easier when the people around you are also doing the same things that you're doing, as opposed to having to make all these different meals for all these different people because you're doing this, but this person's not, and this person's not doing this. Trust me, it's so much easier. So
This mission is driven by community. And I am grateful for the community we have. I think you guys are the best people on the planet. It's become a running joke the number of times I go to work from home and I come in here to work, and then it was just yesterday. She goes, "I thought you were going home." I have a home office that's perfect for me. They're nice and quiet, away from the kids. I can't get away because of the community we have here. I adore you. I'm excited for what you guys are bringing to the community. And as the community grows and as you come up with more accountability partners and more friends and more recipes and things like that, the more we'll have, the more of these cool things we can have, the more that mission goes to. We're not here to make you feel a little bit better. We're here to make you and your family as healthy as possible. Max Fit, by the way, we now have. I highly recommend that if you're going to start working out. This is a really important part. Remember how it helps aid in recovery. It helps you build muscle, but you're not going to get jacked, and it also helps you burn fat.
You say you have that now?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Just brought it in.
Oh, look there.
So there's a discount on that too today, right?
Yes. Did you have flyers for that? Oh, is it on here? It's not on
I
there.
don't think we have them here.
Yeah, it's 20% off today.
They only.
Yeah, it's our pre-launch.
It will not be that way at the makeover.
They do have flyers that explain the difference of Max Fit versus Metabolic Burn.
She spent a very long time finding that flyer today.
It took me so long. I just
Should've
kept
told
looking
me
at
I
her
would
going,
send it to you.
I was like,
wait, you had it?
I was the one that said it to begin with.
Isn't that what I told you earlier?
You said, I don't know, it was
So if
you
you guys
or
have
Dr. Marissa.
questions about anything specifically in that or any of the other things, the Met Burn and the Max Fit are very similar in what they do, but they are slightly different. So you can ask us about this as well. But
And as we're looking ahead, we have a full calendar. Some of the dates are a little too TBD, but I know within a couple of weeks. Sometimes, in fact, I have dates for every event we have. Some things might be in flux as we get closer, but I know Masterclasses for the rest of the year. I know we have Patient Appreciation Week this week. These are all things that were designed. It's literally to make things special for you. There's no other reason other than to mix it up, have some fun, get some cool food, provide some resources, and to help advance that mission of helping, inspiring, empowering
Yummy food.
people to make healthy choices. Did you know that we can have this as gluten-free? Most of it's lower glycemic. It's in the good category. So.
Yeah, we wanted to give you some actual products of things that you can buy, so you don't feel like you have to always just make stuff. So that's why we got some of the Siete stuff, but also like the different chocolates that have like 2 grams of sugar per chocolate bar. So better options that you can get for yourselves.
And by the way, this is the first time I'm saying this. March 29, Ladies' Night.
Ladies,
We're-
this is gonna
we're-
be
we're
so
working.
fun.
We're working, even though I'm not allowed to be there.
Aw.
I think. I don't know.
No. You keep saying that like you really want to.
Of course I
Well, you could always identify as a lady
You
for
could
one day.
do.
serve.
My name's on the lease.
You could be the you could serve this stuff to
So
us.
that'd be
The
But it's
Hold
all
on, wait.
about-
This isn't a Chippendales night.
It's all about pampering. We're gonna have some people coming in doing some massages and doing
You could
different
do
things
black
as
tie,
well.
shirt
We're
optional.
gonna have maybe some food and some wine and some different things like that. So it's gonna be just a really fun evening, guys.
college
Ladies,
all over
so
You take a lot of abuse.
yeah. So make sure we'll have more details about that as we get closer to that. So just keep that on your radar. So
That's an exciting one for
yeah,
you.
it'll
Not,
be really
not
fun.
for not for us. So I don't have a men's
yes.
night.
You can do that next month. Or the month after it. Or you can do it
No,
when
we'll
we
just
have
go
the
axe
ladies'
throwing.
night, but
We're good.
somewhere else.
You can burp and fart and scratch.
Right. That's what we have tonight, everybody.
On that note, we wrap it up.
That's what we have, everybody.
Appreciate you guys so much.
Makeover, masterclass. Next one's a couple months away. Makeovers next month, and the Max Fit for those of you here in the room.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.